Don't forget our gift cards at RitaYanez.com, and so am I. Under your bed. Turn on the light! Turn on the light! Turn on the light! Hi there, Virgo. This is your weekly reading for the week of December 7th through 13th. I hope everything's going your way, and I hope that you're enjoying the holiday season. At least here in the United States, everybody goes crazy, and every damn holiday becomes a shop fest. And I don't end up in those throngs of people, but I imagine that it is very busy, hectic, and fun, especially in the bigger cities. You should see what happens in Los Angeles. It gets completely out of control, and then people will throw on scarves and ponchos and shawls, and it'll be 80 degrees. You know what that's like? It is ridiculous. So on Monday, the card that you've drawn is the Three of Cups upright, and this is a card that indicates some celebration. It could be an invitation to an engagement party, a baby shower. It could be that you hear news that somebody close to you is expecting, and it could be right there in your own nuclear family. So this is a wonderful card because, if anything, it shows the kind of camaraderie that we love to see around the holiday season, because it is such a together, beautiful, kind of family-oriented energy. The thing is, we've got Uranus squaring Pluto, and it isn't exact, but it's close enough, so we're still feeling some of this disruptive energy. And I know it's annoying, it just takes its time. These are very slow-moving objects, very far away, unimaginably so, and it is more of an indication of how much influence the larger objects have, no matter how far away. In fact, the farther out in the middle of nowhere they are, the more energy they exert, in that these are even generation defining energies. Now, for you on your own cellular level, we have this energy that peaks around the 6th and the 7th, and this is the kind of energy that can bring surprises and discoveries. And it's not always forensics. Sometimes we just find out how people really feel about us, right? In December, as it is, we're already dealing with the cardinal T-square energy that will be probably at its peak by about the 10th or 11th here this week. There's a new moon on Friday as well. And of course, that Uranus-Pluto square is really not making it any easier. But we also have the effect of Neptune squaring Saturn from the end of November, where we've had to really face up to what it is we're afraid of, what it is that needs to happen, that becomes so much monster under the bed that unless we turn on the light and actually go looking for it and face it, we'll never really know what it is we're afraid of. Mars in Libra opposes Uranus and Aries here, so your solar 2nd house and your solar 8th house. So there are some discussions that have been part of the factor for about 3 years already. And there have been these talks that have needed to take place. Whether they did or didn't, only you would know. And you might have just been having this energy build up that you're thinking to yourself, what is the question? What is the situation? What do we need to clarify about our income, combined or separately, but the resources that we together or separately bring into this relationship? And or, of course, the whole concept of sharing is being stimulated by Aries in the 8th house. And so having an Aries 8th house already lets me know that somebody, if not obviously so, it will be very soon, is very one-sided here. So this is a relationship that, if it is romantic and it is very partnered, like married, cohabitating for years, that the relationship is not acting like a romantic fifth house dating relationship, but it's acting like a seventh house partnered or committed energy. Whether or not you have that marriage certificate really isn't the thing. It's just about where does that relationship fall. There are discussions here and they need to be had. And I think that it's just part of what needs to take place to clarify this relationship. Now, it could also be a business partnership. It could be your roommate, your best friend. It could be somebody else living in your house that is part of this equation because they're there all the time. And these are conversations that are, suited to sitting down at the long table and having them. On Tuesday, we've got the Seven of Pentacles in reverse. So this lets me know that you're about up to here and you're ready to have this discussion. You don't have to get too hot under the collar. Just use your words appropriately to get other people to understand what the whole dynamic should be like. So you can use some creative psychology here. Make sure that you don't say because you, and I. Don't put blame on yourself or anyone else. It's best to use words like, we need to talk about this because there are things that I think we need to establish so that we have a better relationship or arrangement than we've previously experienced. We could make this so much better. Right there, I've already told you we're going to have an unconditional experience in that you're probably not going to punch me in the face, but I've also let you know that this is irrevocable. It is going to happen. It's like giving birth. To me, it seems like I did that recently. And this baby is going to come out of that one area. No matter what happens, we might as well push it along, right? Tuesday, we've also got Mercury and Sagittarius squaring the North Node in Virgo, which I'm sure you're aware that the nodes are in the Virgo Pisces axis. They change about every 18 months. And these are, if you will, mathematical points in the sky, but they're very effective at helping us mature in different areas each time they shift. So for you, it's in your first house, solar astrology, and seventh house axis. So there are some changes that quite obviously need to take place, or some adjustments here that are just a little bit more than who polishes the silver and puts it away in the magic box. So these conversations, I think, can be had in ways that are constructive, in that the Sun in Sagittarius trines Uranus in Aries. And so this, I think, will help you shed light on what it is that needs to be brought to the fore, but it is at least in a sense harmonious in that the energy will be good and ready on Tuesday to have it. If you wait too much longer and it gets too hairy, or when your ruler is in pre-retrograde shadow, Mercury will be pre-retrograde, I think approximately December 19th, and then it will be retrograde all of January. You might as well have those talks now. And if the opportunity presents itself, I would take it. Seven of Pentacles tells me that you're feeling like it's time enough and this conversation just needs to take place. On Wednesday, we have the Page of Cups upright, and this is the energy of cup and a fish. That's surprising. Why isn't the fish in the aquarium? I don't know. But this is a situation where a surprising type of development could come forward for discussion, dissemination, maybe dissection. In the end, hopefully we can get some data that helps us corroborate what we're feeling or what the other person says. And I think it's a potential here. We have the Sun in Sagittarius squaring Chiron in Pisces. So again, we have some talks about your solar fourth house. That is the house of home, your house, the physical structure, the living arrangement, the location, where you park the car, get your mail, put the key in the slot, and also with that partnered energy. And it could be a roommate that you bought a house with, or they're making part of the mortgage payment because you rent them 3 rooms. There's something here about a partnership that needs to be dealt with, and as such actually brings the healing with it. Mercury enters Capricorn at that point, your solar fifth house, and so there could be some creative differences that are going to require or necessitate more structured, more serious talks. It could also be related to your children, and that you may have to explain something like, too many damn people in the house. Okay, so what do we got to do to help you along, to buy a house, to move it along, to do this? And you know what? When we as parents are doing this, I didn't have the same situation with my eldest, but he bought a house when he was 20 because the consideration came up. Well, what are you going to do? Where do you want to buy a home? We need to start thinking about this so that we can figure out where everybody's going to be on a map. He's going back to college. then the 17-year-old starts college here in 2016, and I need to know where my people are going to be at, and that will tell me how much time I'm going to spend away and where I'm going to be. So sometimes these talks just come as a revelation where we say, oh, damn, I didn't know, we have to discuss this, and here we go. Where are you going to live? And that might be the kind of discussion that you need to have. You might have kids that are college age and getting ready to go away, and nobody's really thought about this, or you find out that this kid has no inkling which college, whether local or very far away or even abroad, is going to fit into the picture. I mean, we really need to talk about this, and I think that that is going to become an opportunity because Taurus is the ruler of, or the energy of your ninth house, which deals with these things, and its ruler is in Scorpio, your third house, and this is where Venus can help you with these discussions. But remember, nothing's going to help if the words don't come out of your mouth. You might as well get them right up and out there. We also have the energy here on Thursday of Mars opposing Uranus in Aries, and Mars being in your solar second house of income. These talks are going to have something to do with the financial part of it, where maybe you need to have a discussion, because you could have somebody doing a 7 of Cups to you, and it could be you, I suppose. It could be us, right? We could be the ones doing this. 7 of Cups energy is where a person has many options or choices, or maybe even castles in the air, but we need to have a grounding talk about it. Capricorn is going to make that happen for you. Venus and Scorpio trining Neptune and Pisces can help grease those wheels. But again, we need to make sure that we ground the energy, because it seems like there are all these different potentials, alternate endings, if you will, and we have to start narrowing this focus. Maybe you've got a child that needs to buy a house already, or needs to effectively figure out which college they're going to, so that living arrangements can be overseen. That's pretty much all we can do when our kids are now that age, is we're trying to basically orchestrate things for their safety and for their ultimate independence. I make my kids shop for groceries just to make them do it, so that I know that they know what to do, what to buy it, how to cook, how to price it, and all of the above. It's never too soon to get these people self-sustaining, so that they can have experience with those skills, that we're not all mothers running around with aprons tied behind our backs, and that's actually quite dangerous if you don't teach your kids how to function. And these could be your grandchildren as well, but if we don't teach them how to function and let them practice and try while you monitor, then these people are going to be dependent on you forever, which is absolutely devastating to their future independence. It makes them somewhat hobbled. We're throwing in the handicap that they didn't even really need. Friday, we've got that new moon in Sagittarius, again, that solar fourth house. So it looks to me that you are going to effectively have the conversation kind of no matter what. And the 10 of Pentacles in reverse is showing me that there is somewhat of a destabilized effect, that somehow this doesn't feel as fluid and cohesive as it should. It's almost like we have the conversation and then it doesn't stick. We have to go back over to it, stick it back up there again, and then it slides down. But even so, as long as you start the process, it will actually get better for you over time. It will start to, if anything, mold itself into the shape you're trying to. It reminds me, have you ever thrown silly putty, those kinds of sticky substances to walls? Well, I have kids, so you know that that's happened. But, that's the thing, is sooner or later it's going to stick, just because you've thrown it, pitched it like a pro, every time. So you'll see that this will eventually work its way out and on to the next phase. Mars in Libra will quincunx in conjunct Chiron in Pisces. So again, there's an adjustment that needs to be made, but it doesn't have to turn into World War III. Don't let it, but definitely see to it that this conversation about the finances and about the partnership, and it could be that you and your spouse are not in agreement about the school or your child's trajectory. You're differing here, and this needs to be solidified, right? A united front is what kids really need to see. They don't need to see parents pulling on each other or talking about the other parent. Disparaging them if there's a divorce is not helpful. Sooner or later, they'll resent that parent who disparaged or kept that child from the other parent. these are the sad facts of life, but people actually do commit these different atrocities toward children. To me, it really is a bad situation when I see that. Of course, the first thing I want to do is say, what the hell are you doing? Unless your kid is blind, deaf, and dumb, they're going to know you did it. So the Page of Pentacles here on Saturday talks about some breakthrough in this, insofar as it relates to the financial aspect or the child. So if your talks have nothing to do with marriage because you're single, you live alone, effectively, that you don't have a business partner, some of us work that way, or that things now are quite obvious, have nothing to do with your dating scene or your partnered scene because you're neither, then the Page of Pentacles does relate to a child or a grandchild. Now, with that said, if it doesn't relate to a child in your life whatsoever or the partnership, then this is good news about the finances, that maybe you needed to be cut a break here and there, because we do have this week the emphasis for you Virgo types that there could be a settlement, a discussion, a talk about an asset, knock on wood, if somebody's had a car accident and they're having to get all kinds of therapy and acupuncture, then we can have the talks about the settlements. Now, you may actually get good news, or at least news of progress here, and just make sure that if there's a Page of Pentacles moment and it relates to somebody that you really like that could be a potential object of your affections, make sure that this person is really who they are. Sometimes the Page of Pentacles, to me, appears to be like the trickster, or in La Regla Ocha, this comes across as El Santo Niño de Atocha, the trickster. So sometimes we have this energy of a person who is almost an illusion, if not a holographic image of what you want to see. And when you try to touch it, of course, it isn't even there. It has no substance because it's only a projection. So watch that you don't project your hopes and your wishes for what that person you want to be like isn't more of an expression of who you wish that person is or would turn out to be. So look at things in a very flat way. Take off the 3D glasses, just see it for what it is, and you'll see that this doesn't turn into a complex situation. And also we have the Chariot in reverse on Sunday. This is a card that indicates you may be feeling a little off kilter. I don't really get the impression that this is going to be as severe as it could be. I think that you're so used to dealing with not feeling completely steady on your feet when your ruling planet is getting ready to retrograde motion. So I think that around next week, you're going to be sensing this anyway. And the Chariot in reverse could also indicate that you need to take a look at your transportation to ensure that your battery isn't dying. Look under the hood to make sure that there isn't corrosion. If you're like me, I leave a vehicle parked and then I don't touch it for months until I need access to the vehicle. And before the end of the summer, or actually it was already the end of the summer, it was in the fall, I started cleaning the engine down and getting it degreased and degunked because I knew there were things that I'm going to need to get done. And I had to go in there and start working on everything and the belts. And it occurred to me, well, I'm glad I did that, because the last warm weekend before I changed my spark plugs, my aunt and uncle had shown up on the day that I was getting ready to go in. And I was like, oh my God. And my mom, she's like, you weren't answering your phone. I'm like, Mom, I'm underneath the hood. I didn't have the phone anywhere near me. And my kids are all at home. So it's not like I'm worried about anything happening. And that was the last warm day. And then suddenly there was this massive cold front that came in and made it so that every time I tried to do something, my little fingers and, me and my flip-flops and my sundresses in the snow, well, exactly. So make sure that your vehicle is in proper working order. Look at your belts, condition them if you need to. Look at that battery, clean it off. Do whatever it is that you need to do so that if it needs its oil change, its checkup, that you're getting on it. I'm not saying that you're going to have difficulty with transportation, but I would be an ass if I didn't mention it to you that this could be that little bit of a hiccup or a hitch in your giddy up, right, at the end of the week. So Virgo, enjoy your week. Have your talks. Don't get too hot under the collar. Remember to be forgiving the same as you would like people to forgive you. But at the same time, you cannot be a doormat, my friend, because all that's going to achieve for you is a very prone position with people wiping their shoes. So you need to have this conversation to determine what part of your relationship, whether it be with your children, with other people a generation or more downline to you, with your spouse, your mate, your live-in lover, or your relative who just kind of came over, stayed, and never left. There's a talk here that needs to be had. And if you tell me, Rita, it's only me and the cat Fred, which one of you knows exactly why I keep talking about the cat Fred, because his cat's name is Fred, and he's not listening to this, I'm sure. Well, actually, hi. But if you hear what I'm saying, you'd have a different perspective that it could really be that you, for example, and an employer or a co-worker in some kind of a charitable thing you do. Maybe you ring the bell for the Salvation Army. Maybe you dress up like Santa. Maybe you show up at the schools and play Santa Claus for a day. Or you and that other person who hosts the Meals on Wheels or whatever it is that's going on, so that you can make sure that the creative differences don't put a chink in your armor. You know, a relationship, a friendship is always worth its weight in gold. But the moment that it is falling to the bottom of the ocean like a lead bullet, you know, because you know that there's not that sense of fairness and balance, that's when the talk needs to be had. I'll have a wonderful reading for you next week, because things are going to get better as we get along to it. And make sure that you tune in and subscribe to Rita Yanez TV.